Greetings, Michael DDA here. We're continuing our adventure in our journey through Torah, down the rabbit hole, as I have on my new artwork. Like that, it's a rabbit hole. You know, we go deeper and deeper and deeper. There's things that I'm starting to see now that didn't even come to my thoughts years ago. I've kept Passover now 15 years, and I still learn new things on practically certainly a weekly basis, because I'm studying more a couple times a week rather than every day, where I used to do it every day and write many, many articles. I've gotten a little busier than that, so I can't do it quite as frequently as I'd like. But the things that come to light are really quite amazing. One of the things that we saw here just recently was finding out that Torah, well, and I knew it, Torah is not chronological. We see it all the time. We had the Numbers 1. We had Israel's seed being counted. Remember when we left Egypt? Well, here, let's go there. Numbers 11. Here we are. Numbers 11. No, Numbers 1. Not 11. Numbers 1. Here we are. Look. We had 603,550. This is in the second month of the second year that we came out of Egypt. Just the beginning of the second year. We'd been in it for 14 months. And finally, we counted our men, and we had 603,550. Then, or I should say, when we left Egypt, we had 600,000 men, kind of even Steven. 600,000 Gebarim is the word that they use there for men, mighty men, men of valor. The world doesn't want you to become Ezra men. They want you to believe that Passover is not important. Remember, Passover is where the man gets the second birth. We did not get to leave Egypt until we became Ezra men. Yehovah's son, Israel, his firstborn. That's who Israel is. So now we had beginning of the 6th month, that was this first day, second month, second year. We counted our men, 603,550. Then in chapter 11, let's go to chapter 11. Numbers 11. Here we are leaving. You know what? Maybe I got to go to 10. Yeah, let's start at 10. Was that where we went? No, I guess I got to go to 11. No, it says we're leaving the wilderness of Sinai. It's got to be 10. Sorry, folks. Yeah. In 10. Here it says, I'm going to start at 11. Now it came to pass in the 20th day of the second month of the second year. This is 20 days after we counted all Israel and got 603,550. Now, 20 days later, we just celebrated our second Passover. In fact, we're at the end of our second Passover, and we're leaving before second Passover is not quite done. I'm surprised. But look what it says. And Israel's seed set out, remember they're the Ezra men, set out from the wilderness of Sinai on their journeys. Then the clouds settled down in the wilderness of Paran. So where are we going to? We're going from the wilderness of Sinai. We're going to the wilderness of Paran. Look what it says down at the bottom of this chapter. It says, so they departed from the mountain, from Yehovah's mountain, on a journey of 3 days. And the ark of the covenant of Yehovah went before them for the 3-day journey. It was a 3-day journey from the mountain of Sinai, Yehovah's mountain, the wilderness of Sinai. We're not leaving from the mountain. We're leaving from the wilderness of Sinai. The mountain is very close by. But it's a 3-day journey from there to where we're going in the wilderness of Paran. Now, we left there, and this is in the last week's chapter. The children complained. Israel's seed complained. The children complained. Israel's seed complained. But look, it started with the mixed multitude. Now the mixed multitude who were among them, Israel's seed, the people, yield to intense cravings. No, actually, this was even before that. They complained on the outskirts of the camp. And Moses, and cried out to Moses. When Moses prayed to Yehovah, fire quenched. The fire was quenched. Oh, fire consumed them. In verse 1, the fire consumed them because they were complaining. So there's some men that died from the 6,600 and 3,550. Then they complained again. That place was called Teverah. Here, I've got it. Teverah. Yeah. So then we went on another day, and the people started complaining again. And remember, Yehovah brought the quail in. And the quail was deep. They said it was a mile on either side of the camp. It said 18 inches high sounded like the thickness of it. Anyway, there was a lot of quail. They spent that day, that night, and the whole next day gathering the quail. Well, you don't just gather the quail. Now you got to process the quail. How long did that take? Remember, this is a 3-day journey. We're cutting into our journey quite a bit, wouldn't you say, between the deaths from the fire, have to do all those burials, and now the complaining, and then the deal. And then on top of that, what did Yehovah do? And look at he says. It says, but well, the meat was still between their teeth before it was chewed. The wrath of Yehovah was aroused against the people. Remember, Israel's seed is the people. That's why they're in green. The Ezra men. And Yehovah struck the people with a very great plague. Could more than 3,550 men have died? Could we now have less men, Ezra men, in our camp than when we began? So he called the name of the place Kivrah Ta'avah, because there they buried the people who yield to craving. Now, it says, verse 35, from Kivrat HaTa'avah, the people moved to Hazarot. Kazarot, probably. Kazarot. Yes, Kazarot. And that's where they are now. That's where we're picking it up today. It says they put then. I don't think it says then. It just says and. And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses. Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses. They both did it. Is it a good idea to speak against Moses? We're going to find out today. There's a lot of people who speak against Moses. What does it say? Because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had ba'aled. Here's the word that they're taken, that he had taken. Lakat, that he had, they said married. It doesn't say married, it says taken. He had lakat, taken, lakat. I'm saying it in past tense. Whom he had taken. For he had taken lakat, a Cushite woman. Oh, isn't that interesting? There's so many things that we can talk about here. What's an Ethiopian woman? Where is Ethiopia? We should ask ourselves. And when we look in the Hebrew, does it say Ethiopian? No. It says Cushite. Here it is, Cushite. Clearly, Cushite. It says Cushi here, but that's Cushite is what they're spelling right there with the Yod and the Tav at the end. Cushite. It's a Cushite woman. Ask yourself this. Where's Cush? I kind of knew because I'd done some research. We went through Yasher when we were watching Moses grow up. Torah doesn't tell us much about Moses' life. You know, most of us have this idea. He was in Egypt from 0 to 40. And then from 40 to 80, he was in the wilderness of Midian with Jethro. Well, you couldn't be farther from the truth. What was Moses' life like? Let me point out something to you here. Cush. Do you know where that word comes from? Who that person is in the scriptures? He's the eldest son of Ham. Remember, Ham was cursed, and Ham's seed were cursed to be servants to Shem and what's the other brother's name? I forget right offhand. Don't remember the eldest brother's name. But they were supposed to be their servants. Ham's seed was Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. Now, from here, let's go to a map. I'm going to go to this map. And I knew this was already on here. I'm going to zoom way out on this map. Here is Put. We're talking about the 4 sons. Canaan, where's Canaan? That's all the promised land. That's all in here, isn't it? Then we had Egypt, which is all here. And then down here, so that's the 3 sons. Here's the 4th son. This is Cush. Right here, Cush. If you look at, here you go, a map. We're talking about, let me see if I can, yeah, here it is, Sudan. Sudan, and maybe this Eritrea. I'm not sure, I've never even heard of that country until I looked at it. Here's Ethiopia. They called her an Ethiopian woman, but I think she was more from Sudan because that's where Cush was, right along these rivers. We had the White Nile, the, what was the other one? Red Nile. And then we have the Nile River going right down through here. I thought Cush was more on the coast. apparently I was wrong, because I see that they're on this map, at least, they're more in away from the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aqaba. So here's it was a Blue Nile, White Nile, Blue Nile, and then here's another river coming up, actually coming down from the mountains here, going into the Nile. That looks like it might be at Bora. But I think it's really interesting to see all Ham's seed, all four of Ham's seed being represented. I said Egypt in Gershom. What was it? Where Israel's seed was for 100 years, right in this area here. But that's Egypt. This is Egypt proper. We saw Put. This is interesting, Libya. And then we saw Canaan. So all four sons are represented right down here, with Cush being down at the bottom. Now, with that in mind, let's look at the life of Moses. I've got a timeline on my blog. I can look at it this way. MOS. Moses' timeline. Look at this. Here Moses is born. Exodus 2, Yasher 68. Moses was 2 months premature. Here's a man that really is going to turn out to be an intermediary between the Creator on the mountain and Israel's seed. Ezra men. You could argue, nah, Moses is really not an intermediary between all men. He's an intermediary between Israel's seed and Yehovah. Remember, the commandments were given to Israel's seed. There weren't ladies there. There weren't Egyptians there. These are all men, Israel's seed, who kept the Passover, circumcised themselves and kept the Passover. They became the Ezra men. That's who was up on the mountain when he gave the 10 commandments. Those are the men who were given all the commandments that Moses received. Those are the men who were bringing Olah and Shalamim, Kata'ah, sin offerings, Hashem, guilt offerings to the temple. Wasn't the world doing it? So now he could have died so easily. He was 2 months premature. Put into a river when he was about 3 months old. No, when he was 2 months early. He was 3 months of life from his birth, 3 months from his birth, let's say it that way, before he was put in a river and found by Pharaoh's daughter. When he was 3, he took the crown off of Pharaoh's head. Yasher 70. Very significantly, they realized Moses was going to be a problem in the future. They actually tried to kill him, and Yehovah delivered him, sent an angel to help him. At 18, not 40, he killed an Egyptian. Was he trying to take the prophecy that his sister Miriam had given about him before he was born? She was 3 or 4 years old, barely able to talk, and she's giving a prophecy. We'll talk about that in a little while. Where does he go when he leaves? Most believe he went to Jethro, the land of Midian. Wrong. No, he went to Cush. It says Moses flees Egypt, goes to the king of Cush, and fights for him for 9 years. the king of Cush was outside the walls of his kingdom. He had gone off to war, and I can't think of his name right offhand. Someone had taken his spot, locked him out. Took 9 years to get back in, and Moses was the one that did it. Because of that, at age 27, Moses became king and reigned for 40 years in Cush. Do you think maybe he might have met a woman of Cush that he recognized in the wilderness? I wonder. Somebody who came out of Cush. At the end of his reign in Cush, he really got kicked out, chased out by a woman. I don't think I have her name in here. Her name is Adoniah, the queen of Cush. She was the daughter of the king, given to Moses as his wife, and she betrayed him and took the control of the kingdom from him. He left at 66, and he meets Raul and his daughters. This is where it picks up in Exodus. Exodus? Would it be Exodus? Would that be? I think it would be Exodus. Well, Raul puts Moses in prison. He didn't take care of his flocks for the whole next 40 years. He got put in prison for 10 years. And it was while he was in prison that Zipporah brought him bread and water. And Raul, Jethro, was amazed that this man was still alive 10 years later. Finally took him out. And one of the first things that he did was he went to Raul's garden and plucked the rod of Elohim, which Raul, who was one of Pharaoh's counselors, when he left, he gave bad advice to Pharaoh. He said, don't mess with Israel. And Pharaoh didn't like that advice and kicked him out. He took the rod of Elohim that Joseph had brought in and planted in his garden, and men were trying to pluck it from his garden so they could be the head of Yehovah's people. But no one could pluck it. Also, they would win Zipporah, Jethro's eldest daughter. Well, Moses plucked it, got the daughter. And, well, he's taking care of Raul's sheep. 2 years later, he speaks with Yehovah on the mountain. Yehovah has him bring Israel's seed out. That's where we started. That's how I ended this. Obviously, Moses lived to be a lot longer than 80. He's 82 right now. We're in our second year. Probably just starting he's in his early 82s. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Let me see what my notes say here. He took a woman of Cush. Doesn't say he married her. You know, usually when it says married, they're translating it as from Baal. This time it just says he took her. Doesn't say he Baaled her, but I mean, if you're going to take her, she's going to be your woman. You're her Baal, her husband. Proverbs 31 talks about the woman who takes care of her Baal. And that's translated from husband. So here we have an Ethiopian woman, a Cushite. Yasher says, Oh, here, this is where Adonai came from. And all the people and the nobles swore unto him to give him for a woman Adoniah the queen, the Cushite, Kikianus's woman. And they made Moses king over all of them. So apparently Kikianus's woman, Adoniah, wasn't his daughter, she was his woman. His, what we would probably call a wife. In our ignorance, we don't know what a wife really is. But she betrayed him. Could this be the woman that Moses is taking? I don't think so. He didn't even sleep with Adoniah, the queen, and she was pissed. That's part of the reason why she got him kicked out. So I said, could she be that woman? I think not. Verse 2. We only have 14 verses today, so I'm taking my time. So they said. Who said that? It's not she said, it's they said. Who's they? Miriam and Aaron. So they said, has Yehovah indeed spoken through Moses? Has he not spoken through us also? And Yehovah heard it. Now I know that Yehovah did speak through Miriam at least once that I know about. Here it is in Yasher. This is when she was a little girl, 3 or 4 years old. And it was at that time the spirit of Elohim's spirit, was upon Miriam, Amram's daughter, the sister of Aaron. Remember, she's the eldest. And she went forth and prophesied about the house, saying, behold, a son will be born this time unto us from my father and mother, and he will save Israel from the hands of Egypt. Now, I have 2 things I want to say about this. Isn't it interesting that it says father and mother and not mother and father? We've been propagandized to put women ahead of the man. I know, I always said my mom and dad. How come I didn't say my dad and mom? See, there's planning that's going on here. I want to challenge you to think about your father and your mother, not your mother and your father. Give him the priority that he deserves. Oh, Michael, you're such a chauvinist. No, I'm trying to teach you Yehovah's ways. That's the whole point of this chapter. Behold, a son will be born this time unto us from my father and my mother, and he will save Israel from the hands of Egypt. Remember, 18 years old, he killed the Egyptian. Do you think maybe, possibly, he was trying to make the prophecy come to pass that he was supposed to be the savior of Egypt, and he's going to begin it here? Young man, 18 years old, not much wisdom, although he was raised to be quite wise. Taking it on his own hands? I wonder. So then it goes on. Has he only spoken through us? Has he not spoken through us also? And Yehovah heard it. Now the man, Moses, was very humble, more than all men who were on the earth's face. I always like that it says earth instead of world, but that's a story for another day. Humble more than all the men on the face of the earth. Humble. Look what it says. This is word study. An adjective meaning poor, oppressed, afflicted, humble. It was used of persons who put themselves after others in importance. In other words, he put other people first. Persons who are not proud, haughty, supercilious, self-assertive, low in rank and position. Kind of reminds me of the first being last and the last being first. Moses is more humble than all the men on the face of the earth. Ancient Hebrew lexicon calls him gentle, in a sense of being careful, watching. Suddenly, Yehovah said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. This is out of nowhere. Yehovah heard it. He says, come. He says, come. They said, come out. No, come. Kind of come with me, you three, to the tent of meeting. So the three went, came. Same word being used 2 times. Here's the word. It's this word here. Yatsa. So the 3 of you come to the tent of meeting. So the 3 of them came. So the tent of meeting. Now, you have to ask yourself, where did they go in the tent of meeting? Women don't go inside the court unless they're in trouble. Remember what we saw in, I think it was 5 of Numbers. We talked about the law of jealousy when a man thinks that his woman has been with another man. And just the fact that he thinks it, he can bring her to the court, in the court, to appear before Yehovah, so they can test her, and the priest does some different things. So she's in trouble. Yehovah doesn't talk to women. Nowhere does Yehovah talk to women unless they're in trouble. Oh, Michael, there you go again. You know, when we remember Hava, Kava, in Genesis 3. We'll come back here in just a second. Here's Kava, Genesis 3. Where are you? There you are. Kava. There she is. Kava. Proper name designating Eve. The name of the first woman. Her name isn't Eve. It was Kava. Created by Yehovah Elohim. They put the Lord Elohim. The Lord God. Yehovah Elohim. Remember, this is a commentary or a dictionary. Adam gave her the name Kava, meaning living or making alive. Now, Yehovah spoke to the woman. What did he say? Where is it? Here he speaks to the man. Does he speak to her first? Cursed be the ground for your sake, the souls, Adam. Where does he speak to the woman? Oh, here it is. 16. He says, to the woman, Ha'isha. He said, I will greatly multiply thy pain and thy pregnancy. In toil thou shalt beget sons. Doesn't even say daughters, it says sons. Thy desire shall be for thy man, and he shall rule over thee. Now, I don't think that second part was a penalty. I think it was a reminder. Up until this point, Yehovah has never spoken to the woman. Oh, many of you think he did, but he didn't. He talked to Adam, Ha-Adam, the man. Very specifically, Ha-Adam, the man, is who he spoke to. And this was a reminder, not a punishment. Your desire shall be for your man, and he shall rule over you. Now, this has significance in what we're going through today. We have to understand this. Let's go back to where we were. That was Numbers 4. Here we are. I put a woman in the tent of meeting. Perhaps they are going to the door of the court, where women do go on occasion. I don't think I'm right. If she's going inside the court, she's in really big trouble. How big trouble is she in? What did she actually do? Talking bad about Moses? People do that all the time. I put, no woman comes before Yehovah unless she's in trouble. Well, again, here's the situation, the law of jealousy. Who is Miriam's covering? Every woman in Yehovah's kingdom has a covering. Who's yours? Who's hers? Aaron or Moses? Aaron's the eldest brother. Who would you say is her covering? We will see that Aaron calls Moses Adonai, my master. Moses doesn't call Aaron my master. Moses consecrated Aaron to be a priest. Aaron didn't consecrate Moses to be anything. Moses is Miriam's covering. Period. Let's continue. Why do I have this in here? What is this? Oh, this is coming out, issuing out, go out, the way it's being translated. Verse 5. Then Yehovah came down in a pillar of cloud. I translated this myself. Then Yehovah, I don't know why I have Jehovah. This shows you how long I've been doing this. Then Yehovah descended in a pillar of cloud. Perhaps a cloudy pillar might be another way of saying that. And stood at the tent door and called to Aaron and Miriam. And they both came. They both went forward. Then he said, hear now my words. This is Yehovah talking to Moses and Aaron. I'm sorry, Aaron and Miriam. Well, he's talking to all three of them, really, but I guess right now it just simply says, call to Aaron and Miriam. Then he said, hear now my words. If there is a prophet among you, I, Yehovah, make myself known to him in a vision. I speak to him in dreams. She prophesied. I guess that would be considered a vision. I put Gentiles have dreams rather than visions. Yehovah's prophets have both, but most often they have visions. Here is Numbers 12:6. This is the one we're just doing. I don't know that I made any changes to this. It was pretty good translation. Pharaoh had dreams. Nebuchadnezzar had dreams. They were not Yehovah's people. But Samuel, Abraham, Nathan, Isaiah, Zechariah, Ezekiel all had visions, and Abraham had dreams. I guess all the rest had just visions. Interesting. So it's Abraham. Moses apparently has both. He even goes beyond that. Look what Yehovah says. This is Amos. I raised up some of your sons as prophets, speaking of prophets, and some of your young men as Nazarites. Is it not so, O Israel? See, says Yehovah. So now it goes on. Not so, my servant Moses. This is still Yehovah talking. He is faithful in all my house. He's more than seeing visions. He's more than seeing dreams. He's faithful. He's his servant. My Eved, Moshe. He is faithful in all my house. Makes me wonder that maybe they weren't faithful in questioning Moses. He says, I speak to him mouth to mouth. They put face to face. Why do they put face to face when it clearly says mouth to mouth? Here it is. Pay. Mouth. I speak to him mouth to mouth, even plainly, and not in dark sayings. And he sees, here I put, he sees even plainly and not in dark sayings, and he beholds what is known of Yehovah. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Were they using good judgment? Or were they trying to usurp some of Moses' authority? Look what it says right here. This is Exodus. And Yehovah spoke unto Moses. Here it says, face to face. That's face. Panim. Oh, here I did it this way. Nope, gotta go all the way down here. Panim. Panim. Face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp. But his servant, we don't even care about that. His friend, face to face, as a man speaks to his friend. That's how close, how tight they are. Now, Glenn McWilliams had an interesting comment. I saved this from years. I studied with him for many years. In Numbers 12:8, it says, the expression mouth to mouth, this is his words, instead of face to face, closes the distance between Yehovah and Moses, implying that the words which Moses speaks have been given to him directly from the mouth of Yehovah, as though breathed or spoken by him. Moses, in a sense, is Yehovah's intermediary between him and, I put, all men. I'm going to change that right now to Israel's seed, his Ezra men. Faithful in all my house. Is an Egyptian part of Yehovah's house? No. How about an American? No. Canadian? No. France? No. No. Israel. That's Yehovah's house. I speak to him face to face. Why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? So the anger of Yehovah was aroused against them. Not just her, them. And he departed. But even though he was angry at Aaron, he didn't do anything to Aaron. But watch what happens. And when the cloud departed from above the tent, this is the tent. This is the tabernacle, Mishkan. They're inside the court. Suddenly Miriam became leprous, as white as snow. Then Aaron turned towards Miriam, and there she was, a leper. Oh my goodness. The tabernacle, here it is, the tent. They call it the tabernacle. I mean, it is the tabernacle. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the tabernacle, but it's the tent. Miriam wanted to be great, but she was sent away from Israel. We got to read the rest of the story to understand this, but I'm giving you a heads up. Miriam wanted to prophesy, but received rebuke instead. Miriam wanted honor, but got public shame. Miriam wanted to expose Moses, her coverings, faults, or perceived faults, and instead her own faults were exposed. A woman doesn't talk. I'll just say it right out. A woman doesn't talk against her covering. Can you question your covering? Can you ask questions? Yes, but you don't talk against him. Not acceptable. Well, look what goes on here. So Aaron said to Moses, "Oh, Adonai," says my Lord. It's Adonai, my master. This is Aaron talking to Moses. Moses doesn't call Aaron Adonai. I wrote a note about Adonai. You can go to that note if you like. Just stop it and type it out. Aaron seems to know his place better. A servant does not question the master. The fact that he's calling him Adonai. You know, isn't it interesting too that Aaron says, so Aaron said to Moses, "Oh Adonai, please do not lay this sin on us." Yehovah laid the sin on her, not necessarily Moses. Is it possible that Moses speaks for Yehovah? How many times in Exodus did Moses just come out and say something? Maybe it's about bugs or grasshoppers or frogs. Sometimes Yehovah told him to say it, but sometimes Moses just said it and it was done. Moses speaks for Yehovah. And I think it's interesting that he's saying, "My Lord, please do not lay this sin on us." Not her, us. That she is having this. He was complicit in it. It's on him. The guilt is on him as well. In which we have done foolishly. In which we have sinned. He actually recognizes it as sin. She hasn't said anything about repentance, has she? But Aaron seems to know his place. A servant does not question the master. Did Aaron ever sanctify Moses for a particular job? No. Moses sanctified Aaron to be the high priest. So Aaron said to Moses, oh, this is the same verse. Oh, Adonai. I wanted you to see the Adonai. So here's the rest of this. Let me go back down here. It says, Aaron and Miriam did not, I'm here right now. Aaron and Miriam did the same thing. But with Miriam, it seems to be more serious. I think that is true. Can a man question another man versus a woman questioning her covering? Talking bad about her covering on top of it. I put a woman speaking against her master, might call him a husband, seems to be a very serious problem. Next, he compares what Miriam did to a man and his daughter. Also, a covering for the woman, his daughter. The man, the father, is the covering for his daughter. Here's what it says. Please do not let her be as one dead, whose flesh is half consumed when she comes out of her mother's womb. out of her mother's womb. I have no idea what to do with that. Makes no sense to me. So Moses cried out to Yehovah. Moses is crying out, not Aaron, saying, what does he say? He says, Mighty One, El, heal her, I pray. Then Yehovah said to Moses, look at this. If her father had spit in her face, she questions her father. Her father takes insult and spits in her face. Would she not be shamed 7 days? Let her be shut out of the camp 7 days, and afterwards she may be received again. Now, Yehovah knew this when he healed her. And I believe Yehovah healed her right then and there. But because she had leprosy, she was unclean. I said, I think Miriam was healed right away, which is why she was able to come back in 7 days. Look what it says in Leviticus 14, talking about leprosy. He who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, shave off all his hair, and wash himself in water, that he may be clean. After that, he shall come into the camp and shall stay outside the camp for 7 days. But on the 7th day, he shall shave all his hair off his head and beard and eyebrows, and all his hair he shall shave. He shall wash his clothes, wash his body in water, and be clean. Now, what do you think all the ladies in the camp are thinking when all of a sudden Miriam, kind of the mistress of the camp, if you will, is shaving her head, shaving all the hair on her body, and living outside the camp for 7 days? Do you think they might ask what happened to Miriam? And when they find out, do you think they might be interested in not doing what she did? Becoming a spectacle for the whole camp? I think so. So Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days. And the people did not journey till Miriam was brought in again. So, we had a 3-day journey. We've already had a bunch of guys die by fire on the outskirts of the camp. At the first town we went to, I forget what the name of the town was. The second place that we went, they're really not towns. I think they're just campsites, really. The second place, they were there for several days because they had to get the game and process all that game. And now, here they are staying at this place. Katharot was the name of this place, for another 7 days. It is almost the 3rd month. Remember, they left on the 20th day of the 2nd month. This is 10 days later. It's almost the 3rd month. It might even be the 3rd month that they're just now leaving for Paran. They're not there yet. So Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days. What do I have there? This seems to be the time required for one who was leprous to be declared clean. Okay, that's kind of the same thing I just read. Miriam was not even allowed in the camp for 7 days because of what she had done. Yeah, here, maybe this is what she said. She should have said, Moses, permission to speak freely? Do you think it's a good idea to marry a Cushite woman? Who was it? Ruth? Boaz took Ruth. First he said, whose woman is she? You know, that's a great question. every woman is supposed to have a covering. Whose woman is she? Every woman is owned by somebody. Yeah, we teach our women to be men. Send them off to college. Send them off to work. Women weren't intended to be men. Women were intended to be cherished, cared for, watched over, and protected. Not to be sent out to the wolves. Whose woman is she? It has been clearly this is Boaz saying something like, it has been clearly made known to me that she left her parents, her country, and the land of her birth. Something along those lines, and has joined herself to Israel. She joined herself to Israel. Could this Cushite have joined herself to Israel and done the same thing, needed a covering, and Moses liked her? Of course. Last verse. And afterwards the people moved from Hazarot and camped in the wilderness of Paran. We finally are making it to Paran. Next week, the wilderness of Paran. Let me show you where that is. It was about 105 miles away from the wilderness of Sinai. Let me just show you, as long as I got my map open here. Let me just turn off this. We don't need that. Political borders. Let's turn that off. There we go. Okay, so here is, if I go to 40%, enter. Come on, enter. There it goes. All right. So here we are going across the Red Sea. There's Sinai right here. Here's the wilderness of Sinai. We had to come here. It took us, what, 11 days, 12 days? Finally, we made it to the wilderness of Paran. This is where we're going. Big picture. Here it is. Oh, that's too big. Let's go to 30. Yeah. Here's the Dead Sea. Israel's up here. Here's the wilderness of Paran. Gulf of Aqaba. Here's where we crossed. Sinai's just below the edge there. But we finally made it to the wilderness of Paran. Next week, we're going to send in the 12 spies. Oh my goodness. We're going to have some interesting things to talk about next week. You guys, thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time. I hope you listen. If you do listen, would you like my video, please? It would help me. I'd sure appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Bye now.